experiences. This is not fact, it's not science, it's what I've personally experienced and what I believe to be true when you speak about how your energy defines your personal brand. I've invested a lot of effort into my personal brand. It's something that I've always taken very seriously. Sadly, I dress like this when I was a college student, which I got made fun of a lot for that. But sometimes when you know what you want to do and you know your efforts into it, your energy can help define the direction that you're heading. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that. First off, we're going to talk about my background. So I'm originally from Fairmont, West Virginia. Does anybody know where that is? Nope, probably not. It's a pretty small town just south of West Virginia University in the northern part of the state. I grew up in a very small community where our K through kindergarten through sixth grade school had 220 students. So if that gives you any perspective, it was a pretty small town. My mom was a sixth grade math teacher and taught calculus at the local university at night. And my dad worked for the power company. I have one brother who's 15 months younger than me, who's a little too close for comfort at times. But it was a great place to grow up, a great place to live, and I proceeded to Marshall University when I graduated high school to pursue a degree in marketing and communication with a minor in public relations. I stand before you today as a banker, so it didn't quite go the direction that I thought that it would. But that's okay, because if there was any advice that I received from my parents that I actually listened to that went well for me, when I was getting ready to graduate high school and I didn't know what I wanted to do, my mom said, you should get a degree in marketing. You'll always have to market yourself. And that was really great advice because it's true. No matter what you do, what career path you seek, what direction you go in life, you're always marketing yourself. You're your biggest advocate. Your personal brand speaks for you before you ever speak. What is the definition of energy? The strength and vitality required for sustaining physical or mental activity. So in my opinion, energy is effort. The amount of energy that you put into something is the effort. Now, a lot of times you hear people talk about the fact that where you spend your time is your priority. I don't actually agree with that. I think we spend time doing things that are not priorities because we have to, because we need to, because we've been asked to. There's things I do as a parent that I spend time doing that isn't necessarily my priority. But the children are my priority, so I do spend time and put effort and energy into them. So today when I talk about energy, you can think of it interchangeably as effort. So the amount of energy you put into your personal brand, the amount of effort that you put into your personal brand is kind of the differentiating factor in my opinion. So who can tell me what they consider to be their personal brand? Just one word to describe you. I have prizes. Somebody speak up. Yes, honey.
Integrity.
Integrity is your personal brand. You get to go to Chick-fil-A. Integrity is a great example of personal brand. I told you to speak up. Integrity is a great example of personal branding. You put a lot of effort into your integrity. I know that because she's my best friend and that's why she's here. So how do we create energy? I like to think of it in 4 separate categories. Self-perception, the things that we tell ourselves are typically what come true. Experiences, your past does help form your future. It helps form the direction that you head. Movement, energy in general, is increased, decreased. It's interchangeable with the movement that takes place. A body in motion stays in motion, so energy is the same, takes the same path. And then nutrition, which I'm not an expert on, but we know that if you eat right and if you move, that it's going to help increase your energy levels. Does anybody know who this is? Monica Geller. Oh, I was hoping the kids would know. From what show? Friends. This is my spirit animal, for right or for wrong, okay? This is who I am. This is my self-perception of myself on a daily basis. My husband even jokingly calls me Monica. I am type A personality, a little bit uptight at times, a bit of an Energizer bunny, one who can't get enough people around. I just like people all the time. I feed off of people's energy. I'm not a chef, not even very good at cooking, but this is who I perceive myself to be. Your self-perception helps dictate who you are, who you become, and how you present yourself to the world. If you speak positively to yourself, if you portray in your head an image of someone that you want to be, and that is who you're going to spend the most time becoming. If you have negative self-talk, then that can influence you as well. So I'm really hesitant when people have young children, which is the world that I live in right now. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And someone comes up to me and says, oh, your daughter's so shy. She's not shy. You don't need to call her shy. She don't want to talk to you. There's nothing wrong with that. So you don't have to speak that kind of energy into her. She may not be outgoing because you're a stranger, and guess what? We've taught her that she doesn't need to be outgoing for strangers. Same thing comes with how you talk to yourself about your appearance, about your integrity, about your intelligence. I jokingly said at the beginning, I'm nowhere near as smart as the majority of you. I understand that I don't have a master's level degree, but I also have some street smarts, and so I'm proud of what I can bring to the table. You have to speak to yourself in the manner in which you want to grow. And so the energy that you put into your self-perception is how you can help increase energy. Experiences. Who can tell me an experience that has helped form you? Yes.
Travel.
Travel, says our international friend. Here's some Chick-fil-A for you. How does travel help define you?
I think it helps me appreciate what I have, what I don't have. I think it's the greatest gift as far as knowledge and awareness.
Mm-hmm. So because of travel, because of the experiences that you have had, that helps form your opinions, your energies, your perceptions.
Everything.
It helps form the world that you live in. That's a great example of how your experiences help form you. I look at some of these experiences up here. These are things that I've done with friends, with my children, nonprofits that I'm involved in. Those experiences help form my energy that I have for the community. So part of my personal brand that we'll get to in a little bit has to do with connecting. And so connecting, being involved with other people, how you give back to your community is all part of my personal brand. And so those experiences have helped form that. Movement. The only exercise I've done this month is running out of money. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes we go through seasons of life where movement is not a priority. But again, I mentioned earlier, an object in motion stays in motion, a body in motion stays in motion. You can help increase your energy. You can be more energetic by being active, period. There's a downside to that, being too active. Some of us that are Monica personalities have a tendency to be yes people. We say yes to as many things, people, opportunities as we can, and then we burn out. And so you've got to make sure that your energy levels are balanced with what your body needs. So for me, I need quiet time a couple times a month, but I actually get more energy being in groups, being in opportunities to engage with folks. Sometimes you get energy by listening to other people. Maybe you're the kind of personality that likes to have deep conversation one-on-one. All of those types of movements help increase your energy. Another type of movement that helps with energy is music. So the vibration that comes from music is actually helping with your internal movement. So has anybody heard of Rachel Hollis? Yeah, a few people. She's Girl Wash Your Face, author. She's also a podcaster, and she talks a lot about how music helps hype her up. Now, for those of you that have ever ridden in the car with me, I like to listen to XM series Fly. It's channel 47. It's a lot of, rap or R&B or hip hop music that has words that I don't want my kids to hear in it. But that's what I like to listen to when I'm in the car by myself. That's what gets me hyped up. That's what gives me energy, gets me excited to tackle the day. Some of you might like to listen to something different that makes you feel motivated or brings you calmness and helps refresh or rebuild your energy. But whatever works for you, you have to know your energy type in order to do it. Nutrition! Who's going to have lunch that looks like this today? Anybody? Not me, we're going to bar burritos. But what you put in your body also helps with your energy. So I've learned in my career that we have a lot of meals. I'm a banker. I'm going to talk more about that. But we entertain customers, we entertain clients, we go to a lot of social functions. It is not unusual for me to eat out at least every day for lunch, sometimes 2 times a week for breakfast, and probably at least once a week for dinner, sometimes on the weekends too, if I'm going to events or entertaining clients. Now, what do those meals look like? Well, if you go to an event, it's always, here's a salad with some rolls, here's a full plate of dinner, here's a dessert, here's some alcohol. Very quickly, all of that can help deflate your energy if you consume that much and put those things into your body. One of the things I like to do each year is to pick a word that helps motivate me for the year, helps define the direction I want to go for that year. And this year my word is consumption. People automatically think of food. It's not just the nutrition, it's the media we consume, it's the people that we consume, and the nutrition that we consume. So consumption is my focus for this year, and trying to be more nutritious with a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old that like to eat at Chick-fil-A is the best that I can do. But it's important to do that to help increase your energy. Who can tell me what the definition of a personal brand is?
Marketing yourself and your career.
Yes! You're going to Starbucks, girlfriend. Marketing yourself and your career. Success comes from self-packaging. Some people might disagree. But I think that you can be the smartest person in the room, you can be the hardest working person in the room, and if you don't do anything to package it, nobody knows. So you have to demonstrate, you have to put energy into your personal brand in order for you to be successful. I truly believe that. There's different ways you can do it. There's different personality types. There's different opportunities to be involved in. There's different priorities. But at the end of the day, if you don't package it up, probably put a bow on it, make it look the best you can, then no one's ever going to know about it. So these are some brands that I've chosen to affiliate with. These are brands that I've made a priority in my life. First Tennessee Bank. I'm a senior commercial loan officer at First Tennessee Bank. I work with our larger commercial relationships that need lending, depository, or treasury management services throughout the Tri-Cities. I am a marketing major from Marshall University, undergrad with 0 banking experience. Fresh out of college, I went to a program at Wake Forest University called the Management Development Program. It was a 9-month business training in a suit where we worked 8 hours a day to receive a MEGA certification and RMA certifications, which are higher level banking degrees to be a certified commercial loan officer. I wasn't qualified for that job, you know. I really wasn't. But I packaged myself up. I had positive energy. They could tell that I had a can-do attitude. They could tell that I would work hard and that I had a passion for connecting with people. And so that allowed me to pursue a career in banking that probably wasn't the traditional path for a marketing and communication major. The Crumley House Brain Injury Rehabilitation Center right here in Limestone. The only one of its kind in East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, Western North Carolina, and North Georgia. The only one in a 140-mile radius. These are for people that have had car accidents or brain injuries of any kind. It's a passion of mine. I have a relative that survived a stroke, and I saw the impact that it had on their life. And so I decided to get involved with the Crumley House because of a personal experience, going back to how this helps frame you, that got me to this direction. I go to Muncie Church. If you like to be involved in a church community, then probably you have a church that you're affiliated with. This is the one that stood out to us. I'm from the state of West Virginia, and I went to Marshall University. We've already talked about that, but those are 2 things that I personally associate with and are brands that I'm proud to help represent me. I helped start a program at the YWCA called Emerge. It's a professional women's speaker series that we bring in local, regional, and national speakers to talk to a group of anywhere from 150 to 200 women about your professional development. Professional development, career advancement, and especially women are a passion of mine. And so if you ever have the opportunity, we do offer a significantly discounted student rate to come to our speaker series here in the Tri-Cities. Underground Fitness, we talked about movement. I love to work out at Underground Fitness. It's a local gym over by in the Peerless Plaza. It has group fitness classes, and because I get energy off of people and feed off of being in groups, then group fitness is an opportunity for me to fuel my energy, to help me grow, and to give me energy to get through my day. Leadership Kingsport, each of the 3 cities have leadership programs. If you have a desire to be involved in this community or to have a professional career in this community, I encourage you to consider one of the leadership programs. I chose to go through Leadership Kingsport. It's the most labor-intensive of the 3. We have opportunities each month to meet for 10 months. You meet with our state legislators at the end of your career, which is where my husband is right now because he's in the middle of the program. I highly recommend it. Ronald McDonald House, an Alzheimer's Association, nonprofits that I've been involved in. United Way, I currently chair the United Way campaign here for Washington County. That's just shy of $2 million we try to raise for 21 agencies this year to help brand United Way in a better environment and a more exciting method that would appeal to a younger audience. We're trying different events. We've got a comedy night coming up in March. We've got a Family Olympics event coming up at the Cardinal Stadium in August. And we've got this little guy sitting over here that maybe you can see or maybe not. His name is Wishmore. He is the Washington County Wizard. He wishes more for our community. and he's basically Elf on the Shelf for adults. He travels with me everywhere I go. We take pictures of different events that we're participating in, different agencies that we're meeting, and we've branded Wishmore on social media so that he can help tell us about our community without it being another boring check presentation with people in suits posing for a picture, right? Because we get too many of those already. And then finally, 100 plus Tri-Cities Women Who Care. This is a new organization that several of us are involved in the community that we've agreed to put our resources financially behind supporting nonprofits on a quarterly basis. We have over 100 women who have agreed to give $100 a quarter to a nonprofit in our community at a best vote. Our first event was on Valentine's Day. We gave away $10,000 to Isaiah 117 House, which is a foster care transition housing in Elizabethton. They're expanding to Greenville and Johnson City in the upcoming year. And we also helped work with Door of Hope, which is a crisis pregnancy center, and Habitat for Humanity, which were our two runner-up that presented that night. They each left with $1,000. Finally, Bristol Motor Speedway is where my husband works. Talk about a place that knows branding. Whether you like NASCAR or not, Exceed Expectations is a pretty phenomenal brand. They've built an empire right here in our back door. And so if you ever want an opportunity to learn more about what they do, I highly encourage you to take a time to go up and meet with the folks at the track. So all these nonprofits, all these agencies, all these activities, people tell me all the time, how do you have the energy for that? How do you do that? I mean, you're just so busy. It's not busy if you enjoy it. It's not strenuous if you enjoy it. It's something I look forward to doing each day. And so that's why I have kind of branded myself by these 3 adjectives. And if you've not thought about your personal brands yet, I encourage you to really think about what are the adjectives that define you. Make them brief, make them concisive, make them consistent, and really try to execute them. So when I think about my career, when I think about my roles in the community, I have always tried to be a connector, a mobilizer, and a juggler. Those aren't your standard adjectives, but these are the ones that apply most to me. In the world of commercial lending, and in banking in general, it's all about relationship building. How many times have you heard of relationship building, right? You need to build a relationship with the person at Starbucks that gives you your coffee. You need to build a relationship with your hairstylist that does your hair. You need to build a relationship with whoever. It's very overused, in my opinion, because a relationship is a two-way street. I have a relationship with my husband. I have a relationship with close friends. I have relationships with my children. I have relationships with my coworkers. But I shouldn't have a relationship with every person I meet. Think about how intensive it would be to have a relationship with every person that you meet. So I don't consider myself a relationship builder. I'm a connector. I like to connect people. It doesn't mean that I know you deeply, I know you intensely. It doesn't mean that I know what's going on in our community deeply or intensely. It doesn't mean that I know the energy that goes into what's taking place, but I want to connect you if there's an opportunity to do so. So for my customers, I try to connect them with the right products that we have at the bank that might be a fit for them, but I also try to connect them to things of their interest. To me, being a connector is more of a one-way street. I'm not expecting anything in return like a relationship would be. I like to connect people. Because of that, I'm guilty of thinking that I have a lot of friends, when in reality I have a lot of strong acquaintances that I've made connections for that have bonded us. Just because you bonded over a connection doesn't mean you have a relationship. So I'm still learning how to consume healthy relationships and not get too bogged down in all the connections that I've made. That's part of my personal brand, but that's not part of who I am. You have to kind of differentiate the two sometimes. They can consume you if not. Mobilizer. I like to mobilize people. Once I've made a connection, I want to bring us all together for a cause. I want to have that grand finale moment where we're all together and we're cheering things on. I like to mobilize towards progress. Whether it's creating an opportunity for women to speak in professional development and mobilizing people around that, whether it's raising money for the United Way and our 21 agencies that give back to this community, mobilizing efforts around that, raising money. Aside from being a banker, I spent 4 years at Rutgers University at the Foundation in New Jersey. It's the State University of New Jersey. I was the, what was my title? Something development officer, I don't even remember what it was, for their School of Communication, Information Studies, and Library Sciences. That's a mouthful. But what I learned to do was mobilize alumni, faculty, students, programs in a way that was impactful to others. So finding ways to connect alumni that were passionate about scholarships with students that needed scholarships. Finding ways to connect new programming with the university's researchers. It was a fun time in my life to do that. Ultimately, that's not the career path that I stayed on, but showing you yet again, marketing can be used in lots of different ways. You can be a fundraiser, you can be a banker. As long as you know how to market yourself, you can do just about anything you put your mind to. And then finally, juggler. I really like the word juggler. Some people think it's funny. Some people think that the image that they get in their head is what? Somebody throwing all the balls in the air? Anybody who is a working mother, especially of young children, can tell you that's what we do all day long. We juggle. We juggle. We juggle as students. You juggle priorities, classes, papers that are due, working, making sure that you can pay your bills. Juggling is something that we all do, and if you're good at it, it can be really impactful. So part of my personal brand is juggling because if you looked at the previous page, I'm involved in a lot of things. I couldn't do that without annoying everybody and them saying, don't come back and be on my committee, if I wasn't successful at juggling. So knowing how to prioritize your time, knowing what's important to you, juggling has been something that I've really practiced and gotten better at, and I surround myself by people that are really good at it too. So if you ever find me on Facebook, you probably won't, I've been friended old lady, but if you ever saw me on Facebook, it says in my, what's it called? Not your profile picture, but the one above it. Somebody tell me, cover photo, says, your energy introduces you before you even speak. I think that could not be the more true statement. I hope that my energy says a lot about me before I ever start talking, because we all know I'm not going to stop once I get going. But your energy, the way that you present yourself, the way that you've packaged yourself says a lot about you before you ever open your mouth. I didn't get into this too much, but one of the things that I'm really passionate about reading about and spending time on is body language. Does anybody know why? Why would body language be important?
How people perceive you.
How people perceive you. It's also really important when you're trying to build connections. When you're trying to build relationships, you can look past the snapshot image of someone, right? You can look past that first impression. But if you're a connector, you're not spending time getting to know someone. You're not spending time on the relationships. So you're making snap judgments, for lack of a better word, on how they present themselves. So how your body language is interacting with me tells me whether you're engaged, tells me if you're interested in what I'm saying, tells me if you want to know more, tells me if I've hit a pain point and we shouldn't continue the conversation down that path. That's what helps me be an effective connector quickly so that I can get on to juggling other tasks. With that, I don't think I said anything important or anything new. To be very honest, I put this together this morning because I wanted it to be something that had a fresh take on what I do for a living, which is try to be energetic and try to use my personal brand to build myself in the community. There's a lot of banks in town. There's a lot of relationship managers in town. There's a lot of places to eat or places to exercise. There's a lot of everything. We have more excess in the world today than we've ever had before. So how do you differentiate yourself? I fully believe it's in your personal brand. I think people want to do business with people. People want to spend time with people. People want to invest in people. And so whether you're the smartest person in the room or the most successful person in the room, I feel like the way you can differentiate yourself is by having an effective personal brand strategy that you put all of your energy behind. Because you're your only you. There's no other you out there. No one who tries to execute on this strategy or even claims those same adjectives is going to do it the same way I do. And so I think it's important that you identify what you are and what you're about, but then execute it to the fullest extent that you can, because you're the only one that can do it your way. All right, that's all I got. Who wants to ask questions? Yes, ma'am.
You talked a lot about in-person interactions.
Yeah.
What about social media? Would you have any advice?
Great
on
question.
How to interact with people?
Great question. Social media is a monster, right? It's pretty much taken over. And it's tough to juggle. I took a real close look at social media for myself personally at the fourth quarter of 2018. Because when I was thinking about consumption, knowing that was going to be my word for 19, I was trying to think about how I consume social media. So for me personally, I've found that people my age, I'm 35 years old this year, people my age that do business with this generation, meaning 35 to 55, we'll say, are the majority of my folks, spend a lot of time on Facebook. It is what it is. They're not into the Snapchat. They don't know how to Instagram. they're into Facebook, which is not the most effective social media out there. It's not the most successful. It's not the most common. But I've chosen to make Facebook just my personal branding platform. I've taken down pictures of my kids. I've taken down experiences that we've done on our weddings and our honeymoons and all the personal stuff I used to share. And I've decided instead of making it a yearbook, I'm trying to make it a platform for promotion. Not just for myself, but for our community. So I use it to share events. I use it to talk about nonprofits I'm working on. I use it to post opportunities for small businesses when I have a great meal somewhere. So I've chosen to use Facebook as a platform to further my personal branding strategy. Kind of like a more engaging, fun LinkedIn. That's the way I look at Facebook. Instagram, on the other hand, is where I have my personal life, right? When I was thinking about how to frame my Instagram, I wanted that to be the place where I could share pictures of my kids, where I could share opportunities that I've done with my husband, fun activities, family travels. And I started thinking about the uses of Instagram and how a lot of people want to generate followers, right? So if you're in multi-level marketing, if you have your own small business, if you are in a sales role where you want to put a lot of imagery out there, Instagram's the place to do it. But that's not what I wanted it for. I wanted it for personal use. So I looked at my Instagram and I said, would I have this person at my house for dinner to have a conversation? If the answer was yes, then they can follow me on Instagram. If the answer was no, I deleted them. Because that's not what I want to use that platform for. I used to only accept Facebook requests from people that I really knew. Now I'm okay with, you can see my personal brand on Facebook all day long, but my Instagram is what I'm sheltering. I still use LinkedIn in the professional community. I think LinkedIn has been the silent monster in the round. I don't know how to explain it, but to me it's been one that has been underappreciated, but has really stood the test of time. And I'm surprised by how many hits I still get on LinkedIn for people asking about job opportunities, asking about speaking engagements. So I try to keep my LinkedIn fresh, but unlike Facebook, where I might post a couple times a day, LinkedIn for me is more once or twice a week. So that's how I personally use social media. I'm not a social media expert, but that's how I like to use the platforms. And I do encourage you to think about whatever you're choosing to put on the different platforms. We all know it's out there forever. We all know that it can't be totally deleted. We all know it'll represent us for years to come. And so one of the things that helped me when I was trying to decide the best way to go about my social media is an article that I read in the New York Times, and I recently shared it on Facebook, and I'll be happy to post it in the event page so that you all can see it. But it was a great overview of every platform and the ways that they encourage you, the strengths and weaknesses of each, and then the ways they encourage you to consider which ones are right for you. Thanks for watching this. Anybody else?
For the students who are preparing maybe for interviews or thinking about this in the future, could you share your interview experience, whether that's from the interviewer perspective or interviewee perspective?
That's a great question. Interviews today are more important than they've ever been. Because if a company wants you to sit down and have a true face-to-face interview, they're investing time and resources into bringing you in. There's a lot of phone interviews that take place, and those are important too. But for me, face-to-face interviews are the most important ones that you need to plan for and prepare for. I still think that the old rules of interviewing apply. You need to dress professionally, you need to have a professional resume, you need to understand the position that you're applying for, and you need to have a differentiating factor why you're the right candidate. I think for students that are looking to apply for a job today, it's so competitive. I mean, there's so many, not only applicants, but there are so many people crossing fields. You know, it used to be that you graduated in your degree path and you got a job in your degree path. Now your degree really is just a springboard to whatever career path you want to do. And so I think that it's even more competitive than it's ever been. And because of that, don't be afraid to be different. My resume does not look like a traditional resume at all. I think that's a good thing. It doesn't follow the rules of a traditional resume. I think that's a good thing. Don't be afraid to stretch the limit of what you've been told on an interview, but I also highly recommend that you still dress professionally and act professionally in the interview. The one thing that I see as an interviewer that bothers me today is how many people don't take time to put their appearance together for an interview. I know that, I don't dress like this every day. In fact, I had to really dig to find a suit that I can wear today because I don't wear a suit that often anymore. It used to be bankers wore suits every day. I don't do that. But I think for an interview, you need to put yourself together in the most professional manner possible for the job that you're interviewing for. I don't care if you're interviewing to be a child care worker at my son's daycare, or if you're interviewing to be the president of the bank, if you're interviewing to work in a fitness facility, you need to dress for the job appropriately. And I don't think that you can ever go wrong with a suit or with dress clothes. So I do encourage you to consider investing in something like that if you're getting ready to get an interview. But make sure you have people proofread your resume. I can't tell you how many times we get applicants that have words misspelled, that proofread your resume. That's really important. And going back to the connector thing, don't be afraid to make connections beforehand. Figure out who you're interviewing with. I always ask for a name. You never want to walk into a company to interview for a job and not know who you're meeting with. So always get a name before you go. Find them on social media. Especially if they're over the age of 40, but Facebook is probably public. It's real easy to find people. I'm just being honest. I can't tell you how many of my customers I can go on Facebook and find everything I want to know about them because they don't know how to use privacy settings. You can also find out who people you may know that are connected to those folks through LinkedIn, through Facebook. See who your mutual friends are. Don't be afraid to tell people beforehand, hey, I'm interested in this position. I'm interviewing for it. How can you help me? Because I think that sometimes is how you can differentiate yourself before you ever get out the door. Yeah.
I would add to understand that the employer is going to look at your social media.
Oh, absolutely.
When we hire at CASA, every single time we would look at people's Facebook before we even ask them to interview. And there's a lot of people we didn't even ask to interview because of that.
So Facebook, any social media is a public platform. Anything you put on there, you are allowed to be consumed by the public legally. So we do absolutely check your social media to the nth degree, to the point where if we're serious about you as a candidate and we know someone who is a friend with you, we might ask them to look at your social media because, again, this is public information. So, great point. I completely forgot about that. Maybe keep those pictures on the weekend in a private album. You don't want everybody to be able to see them getting your Facebook. Anything else, guys? Yeah.
This is, it's not a question, but I'm just curious. Did you always want to do banking? And if not, I feel like there's a lot of buzz with people, and maybe with people coming through college, where you have to pursue your passion. That's what your career has to be. And for some people, you may be landlocked where you're in a location where you can't pursue your passion in the industry that you're passionate about. Did you find if you weren't passionate about something, you found joy in aspects of it, like connecting people or mobilizing people within that industry and focusing on that to offset the fact that maybe you didn't envisage being a banker, you know what I mean?
Yes, and that's such a great question. I'm glad you asked that. No, I did not see myself as a banker. This was not my passion, and we are absolutely in the age where we talk about pursuing our passions, which I don't agree with. Let me just throw it out there. Sometimes it's great to pursue your passion, but if your passion cannot pay your bills, do not pursue your passion.
Yeah.
Do your passion as a side job. Do your passion as a volunteer effort. Do your passion for fun, but you don't make it your primary source of income. So I don't always agree with pursuing your passion full time. Banking was not my passion, but guess what? It pays those bills. And what I found within it is if you know your personal brand, if you've really spent time investing in what makes you energized, you can find it within just about any role.
Right.
So finding the aspects of banking that worked for my personal brand is how it ended up working for me. So for me, what I love about banking is not actually doing any of the banking. But what are banks known for? We sponsor a lot of things in the community.
Yeah.
We serve on a lot of boards. We help with a lot of social functions within the community. We speak to classes and students and break. I love that stuff. Absolutely love that stuff. When I graduated college, I wanted to be Helen Hunt in the movie What Women Want. I wanted to be up here doing the Nike branding, marketing job, and I hate to tell you guys, but in Huntington, West Virginia, I looked, it does not exist. It is not a job out there, and in fact, there's so few of those.
Yeah.
And so I had to take a step back. I had to say, I love doing all of these things, but people don't really pay you to like people, right? But they do if you're a banker. And I realized, ching, that's how you can pay your bills and still execute on the things that energize you and still spend time doing what you enjoy. So banking is an avenue for me to be involved in the community, to have opportunities to connect people, to know what's happening in the economy and in our community and finding ways to match the two together. And then having the flexibility to do stuff like this. If I was a teacher who has a 10 times harder, way underpaid job, don't even get me started on a teaching platform, I couldn't be here doing this right now, right? Because I'm responsible for 30 children, I'm making $10 an hour, and I'm completely unappreciated for the amount of effort and knowledge that I have to put into my daily job. I highly regard and spend a lot of time advocating for teachers. That's a passion of mine. But I didn't become a teacher because my mom told me from day one, if you go into marketing, as long as you know how to market yourself, you can do anything you can do. And so that's how I ended up becoming a banker by accident. I thought I was going to go to law school for a while because I'm very argumentative. And I thought that would be a good fit for me. But then I realized that you have to listen a lot more than talk. And that's why I have a best friend that does law, because she listens and I talk. And so it works really well. But then you have to think about the aspects of any career path that you want to go into and how you can do it. That's why I personally think and say over and over again, marketing, branding is by far the best degree you can get. By far the best degree you can get. It's the most universal. It's the most interchangeable for anything you could want to do, and it's the only degree that they offer that is part of every job you do. I've not found another degree out there that's part of every single career path. So, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Anybody else? Wants to go to lunch? All right, I'm out. Thank you so much.